Recording in progress. Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Colleagues, good morning.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Yes. At that time, I think we have to start.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Albertina, may I just check? Are we forming a quorum?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, Chair, we do form a quorum. We can proceed with the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, let me declare this meeting this morning open. And thank you very much for availing yourself to join us at this meeting this morning. We welcome also the department. I'm trying to check as to who is leading the department here. Otherwise, you are all welcome, and the member who deposited the members' bill. The meeting is officially opened, and may I request then Albertina to help us with apologies. Do you have, Albertina, the agenda so that you can post it on the screen?
Thank you, Chair. We've got apologies, Chair, from Minister and Deputy Minister. Minister is attending Cabinet Committee, and Deputy Minister Kappa due to bereavement, Chair. Those are the only two apologies that I received, Chair. Thank you very much. Hello, Chair. Hello.
Yes, Albertina, I am here. I'm listening.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. And who's leading us in the department? If the minister and the deputy minister are not here.
Recording in progress.
Chairperson, good morning. I hope you can hear me. It's Sarah speaking. The other apology that was registered was supposed to be registered. I'm not sure why not, and was tendered. Is that of Director General Ramasodi, who is also on official business abroad. The department is today led by Dipe Benening Serare, who is the acting Director General for the week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DDG. We appreciate it. The apologies have been registered. I don't know whether from the members you do have apologies. Okay, so it means we do not have. Well, today we have the agenda on the screen. We have one item on the agenda today. This is the briefing by the Department of Agriculture on Performing Animals Protection Amendment Bill, B12 2025, Private Members Bill, which is deposited by Member W.R. Alexander in Section 76. May I then hand over to DDG Srache to lead us on the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. Dr. Andrea Yelia will, with your indulgence, take us through the presentation. In short, as a prelude, members and Chair, we have managed to engage with the Honorable Alexander to make discussions easier. So I would ask also Dr. Yelia to refer to the discussions that we had with Honorable Alexander. With your indulgence, Dr. Yelia.
Okay, Dr. Yelia, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, honorable members. Thank you, DDG. So I will go through the presentation and then address the meeting that we had with Honorable Alexander towards the end as it comes in with our conclusions. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So our presentation outline, we will just start with a brief introduction. We'll go through the problem statement of the bill as presented by Honorable Alexander, and then the existing relevant legislation. Then we'll move on to the appropriateness of PAPA for the intended amendments. Then our specific comments on the amendments, some international benchmarking, and then our conclusions with recommendations. And then we will go through some of the discussions that took place during the meeting as well. So the bill was presented by Honorable Alexander at the sitting of the Portfolio Committee on the 22nd of July. The department were present to observe the presentation and take notes, and we received the bill that week. So we've then since had time to review the content of the bill. So the bill serves to amend the Performing Animals Protection Act by introducing protection of rights of persons with disabilities who are using assistance or service animals. Next slide, please. This was the problem statement as presented by Honorable Alexander and team. So it's just the problem statement regarding the PAPA Amendment Bill and the idea behind the PAPA Amendment Bill. So we'll just leave that on there for just a minute. The current existing relevant legislation that's important around this bill is firstly the Constitution. So this was also present in Honorable Alexander's presentation. The existing relevant legislation which consists of the Constitution, Section 9, as well as the PEPUDA Act of 2000, which prevents for unfair discrimination of persons on the grounds of disability. Then within our mandate, we also have the Performing Animals Protection Act, so our PAPA Act, which provides for the regulation of exhibition and training of performance animals and the use of animals for safeguarding. Next slide. We also have the Animals Protection Act, which is our main framework to prevent animal cruelty. So this is the overarching legislation for animal welfare, which covers all animals, including your service animals, And then we have the Animal Matters Amendment Act, which provides for matters relating to injuries caused by animals. So those last three acts are the ones that are under the department. When we looked at the bill, we looked at the appropriateness of using PAPA for the intended amendments. So the primary purpose of PAPA is to protect animals from harm, and the bill serves to introduce a human rights matter into legislation that primarily deals with animal rights or welfare. So we had a concern that using animal welfare legislation as a tool to enforce anti-discrimination laws for persons with disabilities may not be sustainable or enforceable legally. The rights of assistance animals are protected under the Animals Protection Act, which currently protects all animals in South Africa against cruelty. And if there is a need to enhance legislation specifically of assistance animals, that can be looked at possibly as a regulation under the Animals Protection Act. Then we've got the existing legislation, like I said, in the Constitution, and then PEPUDA, which provides for prevention of unfair discrimination on the grounds of disability. So we have a concern with tying enforcement of human rights, tying that to compliance with animal licensing. So this could open the door to inappropriate criminal sanctions under an animal law framework. Previously, we had the Animal Matters Amendment Act, which had to be enacted to provide for human rights. So the existing act could not be amended independently, and the intended purpose of the amendment was ultravirus to the act. So specific comments on the bill itself, if we look at the specific clauses that were looking to be amended, Clause 1A is for entry into buildings and premises for persons using an assistance animal and in possession of a license for that. So the clause also provides an exemption for anyone who can demonstrate that they need to use that animal. And it provides exemption if they can demonstrate that the animal is generally recognized as an assistance animal. So this is an open exemption. So it will be it would be difficult to recognize. If we look at this example, dogs are generally recognized as an assistant animals, but not all dogs are assistant animals. So there's a challenge with that clause 1A with regarding the exemption of persons who can demonstrate that they need to use the license. So therefore the license becomes a bit of it's not an essential requirement. Next comment. So a property owner, if we look at the way the current bill is drafted, a property owner could be fined for not recognizing a non-licensed animal, but there isn't a way to verify its legitimacy. So that would result in a legal implication where a person could be fined, or a property owner could be fined for denying access, and that would be rooted in a person's disability rights, but not the animal's welfare, making the enforcement under PAPA legally questionable. Next slide, please. If we look at clause 3J, so the duration of the license for assistance animals is 48 months. So our standard PAPA license is valid for 12 months. So this is now an amendment to increase to 48 months for the license. And the period is very long, so it does have, it opens the doors to quite a number of variables like the roles, health status, and ownership of the animal, which may alter during that time. So 4-year gaps could lead to outdated records, possibly poor oversight or ineffective enforcement. And normally we look at annual renewal. If you look at the Guide Dog Association, their dogs that are, if they go through that channel, there are annual inspections that are done on the dogs that go through that, the Guide Dog Association. So 4 years is a long time. Then if the amendment on clause 3F, a person needs to apply to the NLO for the district in which they reside. So the Act does not make provision for districts. And the NLO is a national office which may delegate its powers to any officer at the national or provincial level. So the bill makes reference to districts, which we currently do not have. So currently with PAPA, we have the NLO at the national office, and then we have PLOs in all our provincial, in our provinces, who then handle the licensing per province. Next slide. A person applying for the license needs to pay the prescribed fee for the license. So this can possibly create an access barrier, which may contravene constitutional equality provisions. So most countries do not require disabled persons to pay for a permit or a license to use a service animal. So this could be seen as a disadvantage for disabled persons having to pay for a license to use a service animal. Next slide. The next amendment is the national licensing officer can be a specialist in the training of assistance animals. So we had a concern that the term is vague and lacks a clear statutory or professional qualification. So it may undermine the existing requirement for a verifiable scientific qualification, such as a veterinarian or an animal scientist. So there would be a legal risk which would be difficult to enforce or standardize across provinces and open the door to subjective interpretations. So the national licensing officer is not only limited to assistance animals, and therefore making provision for an NLO with a competence in training of assistance animals is undesirable. Next slide. Clause 3G provides for the prescribing of assistance animals training organizations. So we are of the view that it is not the mandate of the department to regulate training institutions. Training of animals for other purposes under the Act is also not regulated under the Act. So remember that the PAPA Act falls a number of different types of use of animals fall under PAPA. So not just, it wouldn't just be service animals, so that needs to be looked at holistically. If we look at international benchmarking and we look at different other countries, most of the legal instruments with regards to disability access are in your legislation to do with human rights, so your human rights codes, equality acts, or disability discrimination acts. And in South Africa, I've mentioned that we have the Constitution and PEPUDA. So we agree that the proposed amendments are noble. We emphasize the rights as entrenched under the Constitution of the Republic, but we are not sure that the Performing Animals Protection Act is the proper act to amend in order to enforce or enhance the rights of persons with disabilities. So the Animals Protection Act provides measures to ensure that the rights or welfare of animals are protected. So this already covers, the Animal Protection Act that currently exists already covers the rights or welfare of assistance animals. So our recommendations are that the intended amendments be drafted under the existing legislation that is relevant to human rights and protection of persons with disabilities, and that possibly there be any review of legislation there. And then it's possible that we could look at the Animal Matters Amendment Act. There was also a discussion, this is where we'll now come to the meeting with Honorable Alexander. We had a meeting with Honorable Alexander and our Honorable Minister, in which we also raised if we are of the view that service animals need to be further regulated, or that this industry needs to be regulated, or there are causes for concern that the current Animals Protection Act does not cover these animals adequately, and there is a need for further protection of service animals specifically, that a regulation may be drafted under the Animals Protection Act. And then that will seek to regulate this industry of the service animals. But thus far, we haven't had any cause for concern in the service animal industry or any notable cruelty that has been brought to our attention that would require further regulation in this industry. But that is something that can be looked towards. We can go to the next slide. And then this is to answer the question that was posed by Honorable Smith during the last meeting that we had in July. What are the changes to move PAPA online and paperless in terms of digitization of licensing? So the department has been working towards a digital PAPA licensing system, and a business case was filed with the CIO office late last year. So that process is still ongoing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
We
Elia.
submit, thank you, Chair. And while I have the floor, I might have network challenges if I don't come on. Thank you, Chair, we submit.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elia and DDG Saraga for the presentation, honorable members. There is a presentation that has been made by the department. I would either just like to check with Member Alexander if you would like to say something before we allow all the other members to engage. Given the fact that the department has indicated that you met and you discussed the matter and the options.
Thank you, Chair. Just to maybe walk back a few spaces, the initial proposal was sent as a private members bill through the parliamentary processes that we traditionally follow, with the envisionment of a protection of assistance animals as a standalone bill. So through various guidances and processes, we have landed up with the putting in these recommendations through the Performing Animals Act. Just to take a step back, and this is about giving enforcement to a court case. So while there is the Constitution and the discrimination against people with disabilities, we still find that there are issues where they cannot access public spaces with their assistance dogs. The case I'm referring to, it was against Home Affairs, where they simply said you cannot come in here with your assistance dog. You are welcome, but your assistance dog isn't, and that's that then in itself is a discrimination against that individual because of the use of that animal, because they need that animal to go into that space. They can't just leave it on the pavement. So this is not necessarily about protection of people, but it's about giving that animal the right to go into those spaces. And that's how we got to this place where we look at licensing of the animal, so that when they are accessing public spaces and they are engaging with whoever's in those spaces, they can say, well, this dog has been trained and is allowed to access these spaces. So that is where we got to with where we are today. So this is not necessarily meant to be about protection of human rights, but this is about being able to protect the access tool that the human is using, which is an assistance animal, so that they can get better access. Take the point from the department, perhaps a regulation is what is needed, but what we are seeing, because time and time again, people are having to go to court around these matters, that the law doesn't protect them enough. So we need a law that is enhanced, that is clearer, and that protects assistance animals and the right for them to move around freely within shopping centers, gym complexes, being able to access public spaces, and more importantly, to be able to access our government departments like Home Affairs. So I don't know if that helps a little bit with clarity. And, you know, we also take the point where maybe there are definitions that need to be fine-tuned or made a little bit more clear. And by all means, we should work on that. But I wouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater here if there's something a little bit unclear, which a simple clarification on that point could happen. So, Chair, that's my input from now. I hope that makes it a little bit clearer, because it feels like we may be missing each other on the intention. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Alexander. Colleagues, there is a presentation, but you also have Honorable Alexander agreeing that they did meet with the department and clarifying where she thinks they may be missing each other. However, she accepts that we may request the department to come up with a clearer regulations so that it covers the animal that helps people who are in need, and maybe the interpretation also of certain areas of the act to be clearer. I have hands up already. I think that's Honorable Aris and yes, and Honorable Davids.
Dalane.
Honorable Dalane. Honorable Aris, we can hear you. Please unmute. And we have Honorable Trolley. Honorable Aris, are you with me? Okay, she seems to be struggling. Honorable David, we'll come back to Honorable Aris if she comes back.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everyone present in the meeting. I also welcome the presentation that was given. Chair, I just want to come up with the support of the proposal by Mr. Alexander that we don't have to amend the bill. What we need to do is we need to bring up regulations. We need to strengthen our regulations around this, Chair. So that is my proposal, that the department must strengthen its regulations and not a necessary amendment of the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear
Sorry,
you.
I was struggling with my other gadget. Humble apologies. Good morning, Chairperson.
Good morning.
Chairperson, yes, I just want to check with him, and I did hear the previous speaker's comment. I just want to check with him in terms of, even though we are, the Department of Agriculture, and yes, animals and stuff is under the department, but in terms of licensing, is that not an amendment that belongs to local government, as local government are the institutions that regulate dog licensing, etc.? I would think that a proposal in terms of dog licensing, for those dogs to enter public places, etc., it's actually an amendment or an bylaw by a local authority. That's my input. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Aris. Honorable Trolley.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I'm sorry I missed the presentation on the 22nd of July. I went in for a medical procedure on the 21st. So I don't have firsthand knowledge of the presentation, but I do want to just say that I was a little bit confounded or confused by the presentation from the department this morning. Honorable Alexander is looking for a solution that guarantees people that are dependent on assistance animals to be able to make use of their assistance animals to gain access to. Chair, can I carry on?
Yes, I'm trying to check who's disturbing. Honorable members, can you mute, please?
It's
I'm
Honorable
sorry.
Ndalani.
Yeah, Honorable Ndalani, please switch off your mic. Honorable Trolip, you can continue. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, so when I listened to Honorable Alexander this morning, her concern is quite simple. Her concern is that people that are disabled or people that are dependent on the assistance of assistance animals surely have a right to access public space by virtue of using assistance animals, and that this is an inalienable right granted in the Constitution of all South Africans to be able to access public spaces. But in the instance of a court case where a disabled person or a person dependent on an assistance animal was prevented from gaining access to a Home Affairs office, their constitutional rights were being alienated because they were to leave their animal outside unprotected or not be able to make use of that animal. So what I would have expected today is to hear from the department how these concerns can be properly addressed in order to give effect to what Honorable Alexander is trying to achieve. She did tell us that she would try to pursue this through a private member's bill, but she was advised then to come through the Department of Agriculture, and it was considered in the Performing Animals Protection Act and the Animal Protection Act, etc., etc. We need to be given assistance as members of Parliament how to give effect to legislation like this or legislative proposals like this that would give protection to people who make use of assistance animals. So I believe it's the responsibility of the department and its officials to facilitate the progress of the intentions of this legislation, which are quite clear: to entrench the rights of a dependent person, also to entrench the rights of that person's assistance animals to be able to give that person the assistance. So I'd like to hear the department tell us how this can be given effect. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Trolip. I'm trying to check.
Ndalani.
Honorable Ndalani.
No, thanks, yeah, and good morning. Let me also welcome the presentation. And I think one question, what I wanted to raise, and it's covered by Honorable Trolip on the assistant of the animal on people with disability. And the second one is that what role do stakeholders such as animal welfare organization and industry representative play in shaping this bill? And how will this bill impact animal welfare in South Africa? And what are the potential long-term consequences? I think the last one is that how will this bill be implemented and what resources will be required to ensure effective enforcement? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndalani. Member Smith, followed by Member Alexander, and then Member Mtetwa.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you
Good
very much.
morning.
I apologize for logging in a bit late. Yeah, my things didn't work out as I thought. Chair, I just want to raise, if we remember when at our strategic breakaway last week, this specific bill came up, and then there was a mention from the department side that actually that this. Although the regulations can be done, it will still hold the bill against or unconstitutional because there was a court judgment about it. So although that might be the short-term solution, it doesn't solve the court order in terms of the piece of legislation. So I just wanted to raise that specific. Sorry, I missed the presentation part earlier. So I just want to raise that specific point.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Smith. Honorable Alexander.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to come back on, I don't know if you wanted me to go at the end after all the members, but just to clarify one or two points.
I think it's fine. If it's clarification, please go ahead.
Okay.
Because then it will assist members as they discuss.
Thank you. So just as we were discussing around the licensing, this is not the word licensing is not meant to be seen as a dog license as we traditionally know, which is done at local government level, but more at a national level, making use of a similar license to what working dogs get. And the proposal to put it into the Performing Animals Act was because there was an existing licensing system within that act, and the guidance that we got there was that this would be a potential cost-saving mechanism to kind of tap into that existing framework and just enhance it to incorporate assistance animals under that. So this is not just about a general pet or a domestic animal that you would have at home, but this is about an animal that we would see out in the public, if that adds a little bit of clarity. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We have Honorable Teto.
Thanks, Chair. I also missed the presentation, but I remember this matter. It was raised, I think, in July, if I still remember, as Member Trollip is saying, and I did make an input or an observation about this matter. First, I observed that the area of concern and the case that is specific, which led into us discussing this matter, was an issue of an individual who is using a guide animal for their ease, going up and about with their daily lives. The problem arose when access is not granted in one of the public institutions, not because that institution has a problem with people living with disability, but the mechanism of day-to-day operation is such that there are restrictions in certain public spaces of certain animals not allowed into that, but it complicates the matter when somebody is using a similar animal that is restricted, then this one, it should be given an exception. As a result, it now calls for the mainstreaming of the affairs of people living with disability in all departments, that their needs require that they be given a special attention so that they are not generalized, because the policies that are governing those departments are generic, just referring to animals. But once it becomes specific, then it's a totally ballgame altogether. But I also went on to highlight an observation that when you look at the racial classification, this is more prominent on certain part of the society, but other parts of the society, this is not even a discussion. Access to animals themselves are not accessible. They don't even know that they have a right to go and actually ask for the animal. The upkeep of those animals, you can imagine, I raised the issue of the complexity of self-sufficiency of people living with disability. The fact that they are not able to take care of themselves, sometimes even financially, becomes a burden, because the next person who's supporting that person is also actually overburdened in terms of financial constraints. As a result, it now calls for us to do an audit of people living with disability. It is out of question that they need guide dogs, but then the question is, the department that is responsible for regulation of animals, are they able to equitably, if not equally, distribute animals, not because you've asked for one, but because they can't even ask for one. So it must be incumbent upon us as government and departments and parliament to say, when it comes to people living with disability, let us be fair and equal and just in ensuring that it shouldn't be based on affordability and on it being informed and awareness of some that they know that they can access these things. So as we discuss this, let's take the demographic parity of people living with disability, that all of them, they need this, is out of question, but how do you ensure that they are all addressed and served? Otherwise, we need to go to organizations of people living with disability to first inquire, are you aware of this bill? Are you aware of these rights? And how are we able to implement those? Because this is an unfunded mandate. Once you want to engage people living with disability, it means those who support them and their organization, they must have the means and resources to conduct consultation and participation in terms of informing and enriching this bill for their own use, because eventually they need the product that will come out of the bill. But the question will be, will all of them be allowed? Because we have an unequal society where those who have, and the distribution of support services financially and non-financially, sometimes it goes according to certain racial groups, and other racial groups they don't have, by virtue of us being marginalized economically. Us who are not even living with disability, it's worse with those living with disability, because then it means there is no room for them, because you need to have resources to be able to attend to them. It doesn't come without actually any financial strain. So those dynamics are catching up with us now in terms of unequal participation in the economy, because it's an economic issue which we also must manage when we want to address it. But let me rest my case there. Thanks a lot, Chair.
Thank you, Member Mtetwa. Member Trollip.
Okay. Oh, I'll try to raise my hand.
Honorable Trollip, did you want to come back for the second time? Or is that the legacy hand?
Yes, please. I do want to come back.
Okay, please.
Chair, I don't want to have a dialogue with Honorable Mtetwa, but I fear that he's conflating two things.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the bill that we're dealing with is about access to public spaces by people who use assistance animals. That's what the proposed legislation is about. Honorable Mtetwa is talking about access to assistance animals by people who have disabilities. Now, I'm not sure whether the Department of Agriculture or any other department has the responsibility to provide assistance animals to people with disabilities, but I would venture that that is a debate for another day. This debate today and this discussion today deals with the rights of people who have disabilities, who use assistance animals to go about their daily lives and to gain access to public spaces. Now, I would venture that if we deal with that and we give effect to the rights of people who have disabilities and that use assistance animals to gain access to public spaces, when we do address parity and access to assistance animals, this legislation would take care of the concerns that Honorable Mtetwa was rightly raising. But it's one step at a time. And the first step is to deal with access to public spaces by disabled people who use assistance animals. I think that's what the discussion of the day is about. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Trollip.
Chairperson.
Who's speaking?
Honorable Aris.
Oh, okay. I see that. Honorable Aris, please come through.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. You know, while we have the discussion, the Department of Agriculture don't have jurisdiction over public buildings. And therefore, I was thinking that there need to be an amendment to the building and access laws that strengthen the national building. It is. I don't think it is a competency of of the Department of Agriculture, but there's a need to strengthen the national building regulations to explicitly include excess provisions for persons with with service animals or whatever you may call it. So I don't know, and I don't know if the department's legal people are here, but if they can guide us on that. But I don't think that we have jurisdiction over access to public, buildings, but more there can be an amendment to the building and law and excess of laws, national building regulations. I think that is where the starting point for this topic that we are discussing are need to be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, Honorable Mkletama.
Thank you, Chair and honorable members. No, Chair, I do just want to support the perspective provided by Honorable Mthethwa. Some of us are representing the most marginalized of our communities, and we cannot therefore support a process which simply wants to privilege the already privileged. So if we understand some of the reasoning of members here is to say we must not raise those fundamental questions related to the nature of South African society, which is still exclusionary for the Black majority. And that is clearly reflected in the marginalization of Black people living with disabilities. So, Chair, the principle of parity, equality, must be maintained if we're going to support this bill. But as things stand, we believe that, as Honorable Mthethwa has indicated, this is going to perpetuate the ongoing inequalities which are racially based in South Africa. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Chairman, please out.
Remember, I want to go back to Honorable Alexander, who is speaking now. There's someone who was alerting me of their hand, but I have Honorable Alexander here.
Yeah, actually, I think
It's Member Davids.
Oh, it's Member Davis. Okay. Honorable Alexander, is it an extra explanation, or do you want to respond? Because if you want to respond, I'll give you time later on with the department. Yes. Let's allow the others to speak. Honorable David.
Chair, I understand why this presentation has been made to us today. It's about people with disability to get into buildings with the animal that is assisting them. But there is a bill, Chair. I don't think we must amend the bill. I don't agree with what Member Turlop and the others. I rather say I agree with the other member of the MKP that we just need to strengthen our regulations, because there is bylaws in the municipalities around this, Chair. There is bylaws. It's just that the municipalities must implement the bylaws. If that happened to a person with a disability in an area, they need to make sure that the law enforcement of that municipality are contacted, Chair. So I don't think we need to change or amend the bill. We need to regulate what we currently have as a bill. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, honorable members. May I bring back Honorable Alexander and then Dr. Yelia and DDG Srache here for the responses and clarification. Honorable Alexander.
Thank you, Chair. Just on some of the points that have been made by the committee and all valuable inputs, because obviously when it comes to making laws, we need to strengthen them in a way that the end result is achieved. On the point around equity, there are people in South Africa of all social economic backgrounds and all race groups that own and make use of assistance animals. The organizations that train these assistance animals often don't charge for them, so the access to them is available, and some organizations will go as far as to ensure that the day-to-day care, which includes dog food and veterinary bills, are even covered. So the access to having a guide dog or an assistance animal has been removed by many organizations by affordability and ongoing support in the community. There are people, there was a story years ago in the height of COVID where an individual made use of a guide dog in Gugulethu, went out to go and collect a delivery that was made to his home. And in the confusion, the guide dog got out and pleas were made to the community, and the community all rallied around, and they were able to find the gentleman's dog and return it to him. So that was an individual that lives in Gugulethu in South Africa. So there are all kinds of South Africans that make use of guide dogs. And like I say, there are amazing institutions out there that even go as far as to make sure that those individuals are supported. When it comes to disability, there are so many obstacles in people's paths, and this is just one of the ways to remove some of these obstacles so that individuals with disabilities can carry on working. If you have a guide dog, or you make use of a white cane, or whatever tool is available to you, you have better chances of being able to get into the economic system in South Africa and to have a job and dignity with that. So again, this is a simple recommendation that we want to make to protect people that make use of assistance animals. There are currently no laws in South Africa across any sphere of government that protect guide dogs or assistance animals, and that is why we are here. So we did all that due diligence ahead when you put in a private members bill. The parliamentary legal team is very helpful with establishing whether there is actually a loophole in the law, and it had come to that. Where we put it is obviously the important part. The Building Regulation Act, it could be an aspect to look at to strengthen. But this is more that when people see animals, that's where the issue comes in, and we're wanting to try and make that issue a non-issue for people. And again, like I said, it's a small thing, but the people that make use of these assistance animals, it goes a long way into them being able to be productive humans, to live dignified lives in South Africa. And I hope that I've trying to say that we're not here because there was an identification of a weakness in our law. That is why we were able to package it in a way and to work with the committee and the department to make sure that by the time we get to the end of the process, that the objective is met and it is done in a way that is enhanced across all the things. And just to reiterate, the intention here is to make sure that when people with disabilities choose to make use of an assistance animal as their tool, so other people may make use of other tools to help with their daily lives. And we live in a country that is full of choices. We don't want them to be making, and I have so many stories. I have a legal case that I can tell you that has been referenced in the initial presentation, but there are stories of day-to-day where people are turned away because of their assistance animals, and those stories can be shared with the committee. And the intention is that you don't want to have to make your decisions on how you go about your day based on a bad experience. Imagine having to argue with somebody and you are disabled. That's humiliating. And if you want to go into a grocery store to purchase your groceries, you shouldn't have to be making choices about where you will be facing with the least amount of humiliation. That should never be a consideration in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Honorable Alexander. Just to ask the department, I see that Honorable Alexander, even in the previous presentation, when you came to make the presentation. You had legal people from Parliament that assisted you. I just want to check with the department if you have brought in a legal person that assists you, Dr. Yelia, and I can't see the DDG here, but
I'm still here, Chair. I'm here, Chairperson. I'm still here.
Oh, you're here. Oh, okay. Motlhokwa. Okay. All right. So please just help us and respond to the issues that have been raised by Honorable Alexander, in addition to information that he gave us, but also honorable members' questions and proposals.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much also to Dr. Yelia for this presentation. Thank you very much. We normally don't acknowledge this, so when we delegate to officials, she's done it very well. The matter before this August committee, I think we need to look at it very carefully. Us amending the act will still not assist with regard to access to buildings, and I think our two members have already alluded to that. I think what we need to be looking at here is the Control of Access to Public Premises and Vehicles Act 53 of 1985, because that is what this is about. This is about access by people using service dogs to access buildings. Even if we modify and modernize the regulations, if the rules or the law that applies as far as access to public building and premises and vehicles is concerned, if that is not aligned, us coming up with any new law would not necessarily assist the problem statement here. So I think the problem statement here, honorable members, honorable chairperson, it's not about the cruelty to animals, which our laws are about. We all know the NSPCA, which adequately provides for protection of the sentience and as well as to prevent cruelty to animals. That is not the question. And the Performing Animals Protection Act also, there's no question about that. Here, the members, the question is about people using service dogs being allowed access. That is not within the scope of our department. I'm sure if we meet with the parliamentary legal services, we'll find one another. So we'll ask for indulgence that we did not bring the legal people here, but we adequately are able to respond to, as we are regulators, we adequately are able to respond to the scope of our laws in the department. And this is one scope that we're certain and are sure that even if we bring into our current existing laws, whatever modification would still not be addressing access to buildings by people using service dogs. That is what the question is here. So without belaboring this matter, may we ask if members still feel we need to go ahead and modernize the regulations under Animal Protection Act? We can do that. That's a welcome input. We can do that, but still, that would still not address the problem statement as laid down by Honorable Alexander. So our proposal is that we be allowed engagement with the parliamentary legal services, because I think they add here. It's not our laws would not still not address the problem statement, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DDG. I see that I have two hands. Butle. If you can just explain, I'm trying to check who you are before I...
Botle should be Dr. Mrisane, and I wonder if he's going to differ with me, which he should have differed with me in the office. And if he wants to add, he can really contribute to our next response. Dr. Mrisane is the Chief Director responsible for animal production and health. Dr. Yelia reports to him, and if he's going to speak after me, and I don't think we are doing justice to the process opportunity availed by the Parliament to us. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you very much. Otherwise, I would not have. I just saw on my gadget, it just appeared, Munte, I think Michael, something, I couldn't see the surname. If it's the chief director, yeah, indeed. That's why I wanted the clarification before I allow him to speak or here. Honorable Trolip.
Please note my hand after Honorable Trolip because I can't raise my hand.
Oh, okay. Did you raise your hand before him?
No,
okay,
you
Honorable Trolip and then Honorable Aris. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Look, I think there's some confusion around whether this is a local issue or whether it's a provincial or a national issue and who's actually responsible for it. Let me put it into context. There is a law in this country, or the Constitution provides that every citizen of the country should be able to access public space. Now, that means that public spaces have got to provide ramps for people using wheelchairs to access public buildings. Now, the exact same provision must apply to those people who do have assistance animals to be able to access public buildings and public spaces and public amenities and services. It's exactly the same as providing ramps, as providing access. And if we look at it that way, then it has no special or prejudicial connotation. It's simply about fulfilling a constitutional provision. And the department and the officials and the parliamentary team responsible for legislation, private and public, should give assistance to us or the honourable member to achieve her objective of ensuring that those people that are disabled, that use assistance animals, should be able to access public spaces without any prevention. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Trolip. Honorable Aris.
Chairperson, yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. I actually want to agree with what that, I don't know if it is the legal person that was saying that this amendment or on this bill don't belong in front of this committee. But I think what we must do is that the legal people must look into this matter and they must refer it to the necessary department where it belongs. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues, for the input. I think that we have exhausted the matter. And I think the DDG Srafe has requested that they take time to go back and consult so that they can come back and assist us. And I agree with the Honorable Trolip that we need to be assisted. If the department says the proposal by Honorable Alexander does not belong here where it is now, it is very important that the department goes back, consult with the legal people, both in Parliament and in the department, but also assist Honorable Alexander in the process so that then by the time you come back to us, you would have done what you did now, having gone to engage with Honorable Alexander, get a view. Still, as we come here today, she still feels that you missed each other somewhere. And indeed, it's clear that, and the example that Honorable Trolip made helps a lot. You know, the fitting of ramps and all that in buildings. And now we have the situation where we need these dogs, the service dogs, to be able to be allowed to go into buildings. So what we need from you as a department is to guide us as members of parliament. If it doesn't belong to yourself, where does it belong? Can you then engage and come back and assist us? So that at the end of the day, the issue that has been raised by Honorable Alexander is covered. And I want us to end it there and say that Honorable Alexander, just to in your indulgence, to say that allow us again and be patient with us as a committee and the department to go and look for this information as we have indicated at DG Srage. We will again give you a date as soon as we can, so that you can come back and assist us and assist Honorable Alexander. Honorable Alexander, just before I close, I just want to check if you are fine, because we are here because you having deposited the bill and the discussions that we have.
Thank you, Chair. I have been working with the parliamentary team for many years on this. A little bit more indulgence is 100% in order. I believe in this cause and the matter, and we will work with anybody who will assist to make this a reality. So by all means, let's take the time, because I believe that the end product is worth us spending the extra time on it.
Oh, thank you very much, Honorable Alexander. Honorable members, we have come to the conclusion of the meeting with the agreement that we will take it back to the department, and the department will also engage the legal teams on both sides, in Parliament and in the department, and also keep Honorable Alexander posted with the proceedings behind the scenes before you come back. So to the department, we are going to give you another date. So from here, DG Srage, you start working so that by the time we give you a date, you are ready. Honorable members, thank you very much for availing yourself. Honorable Alexander, we do appreciate you availing yourself to the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture. Thank you very much, DG Srage and your team, Dr. Yelia, and the others for joining us this morning and the presentation that you made. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, member.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Albi. Trandla. Copy members. Copy members. I end meeting. Copy members. We need to talk.
Yeah, I'm waiting as well. There are still some members online.
Still here.
Who's here?